And without further ado, I would like to introduce our speakers. We have Rob Craig, our Data Analytics, Reporting and Research Manager at the University of Waterloo, as well as Jeremy Reed, the Director of Co-op Services at the University of Waterloo. So Rob, I'd love to pass it along to you.
Thanks so much, Vicki, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. And what we wanted to bring you today during the breakout session this afternoon is a bit of research that's been done. And I know that this is research that Judine mentioned during the earlier presentation. So we wanted to dive a little bit deeper with you and tell you what is it that drives student interest in jobs, and particularly what are those jobs that are receiving a higher number of applications and interest from students, and what was it about those jobs that maybe explained or correlated with a higher number of applications. And so the research that's been conducted is work that's been done within the Cooperative and Experiential Education Unit here at the University of Waterloo. In terms of the project team, we have our lead analyst. I'd like to just give some recognition to Alex Jennings, who's been our lead analyst on this project, who has really helped us to dive into our job postings that employers are posting in our Waterloo Works system and understanding what is it that was driving students to be interested and apply for those roles. So we'll jump right into the slide that you hopefully would have seen during Judine's presentation, which is really showing that we've done an analysis to look at over 37,000 jobs, co-op jobs that were posted in Waterloo Works, and that's over the last 3 years. These were jobs that were all posted in the first month of interviews. So they're all jobs that would be competing around the same point in time in terms of getting students' attention in that first month of interviews, that first interview cycle. And we really wanted to look at what it was, what were the key aspects of a job posting that drove student interest. So phase one of this analysis is really looking at what led students to apply to jobs, although we are looking at other factors that may be of interest in terms of outcomes that might be of interest to our employers. So how do you drive a high number of apps, but how do you make sure that those apps and applications from students are relevant and high quality? So again, what we'll go through today is just some of the results. We'll give you some more concrete examples and give you an idea of some of the words and things that our employers are including in job postings that are correlating with a higher number of applications. So the analysis included a number of different data points. It included the industry of the employer who's posting the role, the location of the job, the size of the organization. We also analyzed some of the top ranked brands that our students ranked as sort of the most desirable workplaces, and that was through some previous research at the University of Waterloo, understanding that we know there are employers that maybe the brands are particularly appealing to Waterloo students. But interestingly enough, out of all those factors, we actually found that 6 of the top 7 factors that explained a job receiving a higher number of apps or that correlated with that were related to the text included in the job posting. So not that it was a desirable brand, not that the job was located in a certain region or industry, the text itself in the job posting. And so here we've got the 6 categories that Judine had shown earlier, and we saw that jobs that included text related to these areas received more interest. So jobs that explained the company's culture and that had words related to the company culture. Jobs that were asking for programming languages. We saw certainly the jobs that had that sort of bent were of high interest to students. Jobs that talked about different perks. So here we've classified it mainly as sort of food and games, but what are those other perks? Jobs that included some mention of that tended to receive more apps as well. The employer's values, compensation, and then career development. These were the 6 of the categories that if there were text related to it, that the job tended to receive more applications. So that's great to see. Very interesting. But how do we put this to work? How do we action this? Well, we've pulled out some of the key words, and the words that generally appeared more often in these types of higher performing jobs and job postings. So when it came to company culture, we saw that jobs that included words related to a collaborative culture, one that embraced collaboration, one that embraced change, one that provided challenging opportunities for students. One of those things that we've seen in previous research from the Work Learn Institute is that students are looking for those learning opportunities and those meaningful work opportunities. So our students' values, they're often looking for challenging opportunities, something to challenge themselves and to learn and grow. Other words related to a community or the importance of people and the people working at the organization, the social aspect of the role or social opportunities as well. So these were the types of words that we saw generally related to company culture that might explain why a job received a higher number of applications. So again, to really make it a little more concrete, we've pulled out some sample job postings, just anonymous postings from our system. And in fact, we've given you two examples here. Both of them are examples of jobs that performed very well in terms of getting student interest. And so they've both got some great language that's being used related to what might appeal to our students. So job A is from a major financial services organization based in Canada, a national organization. And they're describing what's in it for you as a student, a friendly, collaborative, and inclusive culture, work-life balance, and scheduling your day around your priorities. These were areas and words related to company culture that our students are certainly looking for in those job postings to understand. Oftentimes we think about the job posting as an opportunity to ask for those required skills and really to say, here's what we need of the student as an employer, which you absolutely need to include. But then the student may also be looking for that input themselves into what it is about your organization that is really giving them that confidence to go ahead and apply to that role. Again, the second job, talking about people being the greatest asset for the organization, becoming part of a diverse community, one that empowers teams. And again, a culture or an infrastructure that fosters innovation, collaboration, again, we saw was key, and the opportunity to express creativity in the role. So again, both of these jobs are great examples of how you can highlight your company's culture in a job posting and ensure that you're getting attention from students related to that area. Again, so we did see that these jobs received above average number of applications in our system. Another area we just wanted to highlight today is employer values. So what do we mean by employer values and sort of workplace values? We saw that reference to supports that are available to students or opportunities to learn and grow, opportunities for students to lead or to have impact were types of words that companies were using related to their values. And again, a few examples, both examples again using different types of language related to values. Job A talking about as a member of our team, you're valued, respected, and heard. We strive for you to make an impact, and we'll support you with the right tools and resources you need. With Job B, we saw that the organization is looking to find students or employees who share their values. So if you share values around honesty and integrity, passion and enthusiasm for the work, again, thinking about what are those things that are values of the organization and expressing those to students and hopefully finding that right fit between employer and student that makes it such an important part of the process as we're looking to match together students in that co-op job search. And again, both roles were ones that received high student interest and received a high number of applications. The last element we wanted to highlight today, again, as something to consider for your job posting is we saw that jobs that included information related to compensation and benefits were also more likely to receive a higher number of applications. Again, this was outside of the words being used in the job description. This was actually the most important feature that we saw in terms of explaining which jobs received more applications. Again, just it's not just a matter of having something in that field. It is an optional field in our system. It certainly needs to be information that is relevant to the student, but we did find that even jobs that posted that the compensation is commensurate based on previous experience. That's important information for our students to know, or that perhaps there are benefits that are not related to the salary or the earnings that are important to share as well. So again, we did see that employers who filled out this field were more likely to receive a higher number of apps when we looked at some of the historical data. So again, what we wanted to share with you today is just to consider what are those things that you can either are already in your job postings, or that you can consider adding if you think those aren't in your job postings today, to try and ensure that students are getting are understanding what your organization is in terms of the company culture and the values, and perhaps some of those other areas that we focused on before. So again, think about what are the words that your organization uses to help stand out, and as you're looking to attract that next generation of talent, and what words will are important to students to see, and to other potential employees in your organization as you're thinking of your talent pipeline and bringing in that next generation of talent. So here we've just shown an interesting example where there's lots of interesting information being shared by this employer about who we are. This is the best place you've ever worked. Our mission is to give everyone the power to create and share ideas, and we want to be a force for good in the world. And again, we've seen research in the past related to student values that it's important to make a difference in their organization. They want our students, and students in general in terms of Gen Z, want to work for an organization that shares their values. And again, this organization is one that certainly is talking about making a global impact and needing leaders like you to join us and be part of that impact. This particular organization, is also based in the tech sector, and certainly there are other reasons that students apply to these jobs. But we thought this was just a very interesting example to share with you as well, just to give an idea of what are people including, what are HR groups, other employers including in their job posting, and this particular role received a high number of applications. And then finally, we just wanted to talk a little bit about how the needs are changing in a COVID world, and in a world where students are working remotely, employers are doing the job search remotely. What are those words that are now being asked for more frequently? And again, this was some detail that Janine shared in the previous part of the presentation. But again, think about how your job posting is asking for skills in this new environment, and students are being asked to work with new tools, more digital based tools. The good news is that Waterloo students are set up to succeed with those types of new technologies, but also know that our students are being asked to be in terms of time management, that they're also asking in those job postings around resilience and volatility, knowing that the environment has changed. So also just make sure that your role in your job posting is ensuring that you're asking for those skills if you need them from students, to make sure that you're getting the right candidate for the role. So thank you so much for your time today.